How's it going, everybody? If there's anything I've been learning over the past few weeks, it's been a good balance of how to further trust ourselves and how to trust God and how to trust those around us who are the people that we can rely on the most. I understand that a lot of you are on edge and a lot of you are struggling with that balance, but it's really going to be coming down to how it's going to change you as an individual, how it's going to change you as a person, how you learn from these experiences and you adapt to creation and energy and what's going on around you. There's so much going on in our lives. There's a lot that we have to juggle at one time, and we have to figure out what we're going to prioritize in this process of figuring life out. I get it. Sometimes it can get kind of messy, but much like art, much like a canvas with paint splattered all over it, that just from a non-artistic point of view, from a non-artistic individual stepping in and seeing that canvas just splattered in paint with different colors, to them or to us who aren't coming at it from a unique perspective, the right perspective, that piece of art might look like a mess. It might look like something that's not art. But essentially, when you dive deep into the study of art and when we dive deep into the study of our lives, we begin to realize that that canvas, that paint that's on that canvas, all the colors combined together make it what it is. It's art. It's art. It is a piece of art. Your life is very similar. My life is very similar. Our lives are very similar to that canvas with paint splattered on it. From the wrong perspective, we could see a mess. We could see that our life is a mess. But when we begin to wrap our mind around what we're getting out of this life, what we're getting out of these trials we're going through, the people that we come in contact with, the right people, I think we begin to realize that there's lessons in that. There's lessons in the storm. And it all goes into creating who we are. It's going to change us. We are changed. You know, our trust in God is going to change us. You know, our trust in the situation that we're in, you know, the journey that we're on, the path that we're on right now in our lives is going to change us. And there's power in that. Just don't forget that, you know. Don't forget who you are. Don't lose sight of who you are in this world, in the midst of all that's going on, in the midst of the chaos. Because there's growth that you're going through. There's growing pains, growing experiences, growing journeys that you're going to be on. And if you don't hang in there long enough to come out the other side, then you're not going to understand why you went through those trials, those journeys, those experiences that were negative. That's why we have to stick around. We have to push through. We have to come out the other side and realize that, wait a second, there's a meaning behind all of this. There's a reason that's happening. You know, I was listening to somebody talk the other day about a specific topic. I won't get into it, but the topic doesn't matter. But here's what matters. You know, essentially what they were saying was they were talking about how quickly our circumstances can change within a year time span. It's crazy. With all the resources in the world right now and all that's going on and this circulation of information, technology, wisdom, kindness, that, you know, there are kind people out there who have access to resources, who want to speak into your life, who want to see you go down the right path, who want to see you come out that other side. Friends, family, you name it. Strangers, people we haven't even met yet. So much can change in that 1 year gap, that 1 year period. And we forget, you know, wow, there's so much that could happen. Realistically, if we wanted it to, if there was just, you know, if God or whatever higher power you believe in just snapped its fingers and said, it is, it's done, that change could really happen. It could really take place. That possibility is there. But for the most part, we have to kind of tread uphill and get through this journey of figuring out how we're going to get through this health hurdle, or how we're going to get through this tough time in our lives. For the most part, it's inch by inch, day by day, hour by hour, minute by minute, second by second, just slowly moving through this. For the most part, that's how this works, because we have to work through these situations and figure out where we're at in all of this. Because after all, they're things that we're dealing with. And a lot of them are our problems, or are our realities, or are our experiences. Regardless of whether it's anybody's fault, you know, I don't want to get into that too much. But we have to ultimately push that fault aside and say that we need to be less hard on ourselves. We need to focus on this growth that's taking place inside of us, and how it's going to change us in the future. How are we going to respond in these situations in the future? That's going to affect the whole ball game. You know, if you're playing basketball and you're down 18 points, you know, the mindset of, as a team, how you're going to combine your skill sets, your play types, your the way you respond to the other team, the problems that arise in the gameplay. The circumstances. Your outlook on that is really going to affect how you're going to respond and how efficiently you're going to get a game plan together to effectively get out of that situation and score those 17 points to put yourself just enough ahead that, okay, now you've got the ball rolling. And from there, it's just applying consistency. Before you know it, you're 20 points ahead rather than being under. So analogies are real, at least for me. Analogies have helped me grow and understand what, where I'm at on different things. And I think we can, we all can kind of grow by looking at, okay, when we take things apart and we put them back together, we can better understand how they work. And I think analogies help us do that. They help us kind of tear things apart and look at them from a realistic point of view, understand them better, and we can put them back together and say, okay, now I get it. Now I understand why, this makes more sense, why this is happening, or where it fits in my life. Because regardless of what's going on in the world, what wars are happening, how economy sets in, we are still dealing with our own issues and problems that may arise. And whether or not we want to admit it, they're going to constantly come no matter what. But they're just guaranteed, they're expected hardships or new realities. Your new reality is going to change no matter what you're going through. And I would encourage all of you to have resilience, have a resilient mindset, but you have to balance that with, like a game plan. And you have to get through these struggles in your life and figure out who's around you and what's going on. Who can you trust and who are your people? Reach out. Sometimes it's just good to have genuine people around you who are going to listen, So just food for thought, and hear me out. It's something we have to sit down in each and every one of our lives and dissect. We have to take it apart and rebuild things. We can't just keep doing the same things over and over and expect a different outcome. What is that the definition of? Insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different outcome. Well, we have to rebuild, take things apart, rebuild them, and try to figure out how we're going to get through this and what pieces we need to take away and replace with other pieces, and what pieces we maybe even don't any longer need. And then when you rebuild these struggles, these trials, through the pain, through the hardships that you go through the people that the influx of people that constantly come in and out of your life. It's crazy how many people we meet on a daily basis who it's like they have to filter through your existence and the way that you see things. And, when they do that, you get to decide like where these people are placed within your life. and who they are to you, you can kind of build some sort of trust there, figure out who's trustworthy, But when we rebuild through these phases in life, we're going to find that what we've built is going to be maybe different or look a lot different than we thought it would. You know, we might try and build a house, but in reality, in this phase in our life, just as another analogy, I don't mean literally, but in this phase in our life, maybe we end up building a bakery or a apartment or a bank or a shelter for homeless people, or a set of mountains that are surrounding us in the middle of some beautiful valley which we belong. And that's where the changes come into play and the rebuilding comes into play. It's going to put us somewhere we didn't expect we would be. We have to do things we're not okay with doing. We have to grow, we have to be uncomfortable, and if it requires you doing something for X number of months or years, being somebody for a set amount of time that looks completely different than is what you expected, then maybe that's what life is going to look like for you. Maybe you have to become somebody who you didn't think you were going to be for a little while in order to get some sort of growth under your belt to get to the next phase in life. Maybe that's the gap you need to get used to. It's the gap you need to understand, fill, build, because it's going to bridge you to the next phase in your life. And by the way, in the middle of all of that, you need to get with God or whatever higher power you believe in, and understand that you have to ask, am I doing enough? What do I need to do? How much of this do I need to give? How much do I need to sacrifice? Okay, let's really sit down and think, let's talk about what it's going to take. So I hope you all go through that, and it brings you to a place in your life where you're so thankful you did, and it really upgrades your circumstances, your situation, and most importantly, your outlook, your resilient mindset, your faith, your hope. And I hope you can build your dreams through that rebuilding phase, or the several phases you go through in this life. It's trust, it's balance. And you have to know within yourself, if you're doing the right thing, and you'll know, and it'll feel right, and things will align the way they're supposed to. But I love you guys, and I'm glad we got to talk about this today. But just the viewing glass that I've been looking at life through lately, and I wanted to share it with y'all. But I hope you're having a great week, and you continue to have a great week. And I miss you guys. I love you guys. Thanks for being who you are. And keep hope, keep faith, trust yourself. You've got this. See you guys.